Welcome. This is the SBAC test review packet solutions. Here, this is going to be covering page 8, which is covering questions on chapter 7 and chapter 8. Okay, the chapter 7 question is number 22. You are given a cross section of a ramp, which is shown right here. The cross section of that ramp is a right triangle. How do I know? Because of the square box here, that means it's right, and this is a triangle. The length of the base is 40 inches. This is 40 inches, and the height is 9 inches. Find the length of the ramp. The length of the ramp would be from the top to the bottom right there. Okay? So we know that this is a right triangle, hence we set up the Pythagorean theorem, which is state a squared plus b squared equals to c squared, which means the sum of the first leg square plus the second leg square is equal to the hypotenuse squared. A is equal to 9 and b equals to 40. A is for the first leg, b is for the second leg. C is the ramp, which is what we're trying to solve for. That is our hypotenuse. Make the substitution. So A goes into A here, so it becomes A squared. B, which is 40, plug it in here, that becomes 40 squared. This is equal to C, which is equal to C squared. 9 squared, which is 81. 40 squared is 1,600, equals to C squared. Add 81 and 1,600 together, you get 1,681 equals to C squared. C is not alone. You need to get C alone to solve for it. So use square root both sides because that is the inverse of the power 2. Once you plug this into a calculator, you can't do this by hand, and no one has memorized above 25. So plug this into a calculator. The square root of 1,681 is plus or minus 41. Remember, there are two answers to the square root, the positive answer and the negative answer. In this case, it is a physical object, so we only use the positive number. So we'd say here the ramp here is 41 inches. This is the chapter 8 questions, which is going to be covering question 23 and 24, which is on volume. Number 23 says, a cylinder with a radius 5 and a height of 13 is shown. Enter the volume of the cylinder. Round your answers to nearest hundreds. Here you have a cylinder. The base area is this circle, and it is stacked by a value of the height. What is the equation for the volume? It is pi r squared times h. The pi r squared is the area of the base object, or the object that you are stacking, or the area of the two-dimensional object that you are stacking. Here, the two-dimensional object that we are stacking is the circle, which is why it's pi r squared. Here's the circle. You're going to stack that with the height of 13. The two things that you need is radius and height. The radius here is 5 because it goes from the center of the circle to the outside of the circle. How high you're stacking, which is the height, which is going to be 13. Using these values, you plug it in. V equals to pi, 5 to the second power, times 13. You have to plug this into the calculator. Some of you can use 3.14, but I decided to just use the complete pi. Okay, I get the answer of V equals to 1021.02. This is the answer for the volume of this cylinder. Okay, there's no units here, right? But if it's feet, it would be feet cubed. 24. A cone with a radius of 4 inches and a height of 8 inches is shown. Enter the volume in cubic feet of the cone. All right. So the volume is 1/3 pi r squared times h. It is stacking the same two-dimensional object, which is the circle, which is pi r squared, by a height of h, but we throw in the multiply by 1/3 because the ratio of the two-dimensional object that we are stacking is decreasing. That is the reason why it's 1/3. Okay, this is like a cylinder, but the object is changing, but the object that we are stacking is changing in size. That is the reason why it's 1/3. Okay, the radius here is 4, the height here is 8. Make the substitution in, it's 1/3 pi 4 squared times h. plug this into the calculator, you get the volume of 134.04. This is actually in inches. The question says feet, so you would have to convert it into feet. Okay, but the answer is right here. If it's in inches, I will accept it because the units are in inches. But if you want it in feet, you would have to convert it. Okay, from inches to feet, you would have to divide by 12 because there are 12 inches in 1 feet. But this would be the correct answer in inches. So on your homework, just put 134.04 inches cubed. Okay? There you go. Those are the homework solutions for the SBAC test review packet for page 8, covering questions 22, 23, and 24.